Hi, folks. This is Friday, Black Friday to some, November 29th, I think it is. Larry is not able to be with us today, so I thought we'd do something a little different, and I did not get to have, I was with neighbors yesterday, and there was no prayer offered at our Thanksgiving dinner, and obviously with that also no scripture reading. So I thought I'd just talk a little bit about Thanksgiving, since yesterday was that wonderful celebration. And I hope some of you have looked at, I think David, oh shoot, now he's last, Wall Builders, David Barton has done a wonderful thing on the first Thanksgiving. And I used to love reading the history of the first Thanksgiving to my children and catch them up on what really happened. And you can also Google William Bradford's prayer at their celebration of Thanksgiving. And you know, it's interesting to contrast what happened in Virginia, the Virginia colony, versus what happened in Massachusetts. In Virginia, there were 70 or 80% who died their first year there. It was a swampier area. They were not there as looking for freedom to worship God. They were there to look for money, to look for gold. And so their focus was on self and on wealth. And most of them died. 50% that died in Massachusetts was still horrendous, but that's still quite a contrast to how many had died in Virginia. So and the gratitude they had, hi Linda, the gratitude they had in Massachusetts with the pilgrims, their gratitude for God helping so many of them survive. They got sick and didn't have treatments for what ailed them, certainly arriving in November and having to face a winter in the northern part of the country and get shelter up and everything quickly was quite a challenge for them. And so I'm very grateful that we have a day set aside, just like we have a National Day of Prayer in May. We have a day of Thanksgiving in November. I think it's wonderful that our country has this as a legal holiday, that we can think about gratitude. And if you're not a Christian and don't want to be thanking the God of Almighty, Adonai, the creator of heaven and earth, if you don't want to be thanking him, you certainly can express gratitude towards family members. Very common scripture to be read on Thanksgiving is Psalm 100. So it's only 6 verses, so I'm going to read that. And I made a list of verses on Thanksgiving, and then I've got something else to talk about in relation to the holidays and now that we're going into December. Starting with Psalm 100. And I'm reading it from NIV, and I'm sorry, folks, my King James is packed. So I'm going to read from NIV. Shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. King James says, make a joyful noise to the Lord. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before him with thanksgiving, or come before him with joyful songs. Know that the Lord is God. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For the Lord is good, and his love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations. And just a couple pages over, Psalm 107 begins, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. In times of stress that people frequently talk about with the holidays, certainly there's a lot of stress for meal preparation on Thanksgiving, depending on how many people you have. I want to say thank you to Betty for her provision for me for Thanksgiving. You guys just have, I just can't express my gratitude enough for somebody who cared enough about what my day was going to be like and made sure that I didn't have to do like I did last year. So I was very, very grateful. There's another, let's see, I'm going to go back to, hi, Josephine. Larry can't be with us today. I'm going to go back to First Chronicles when at this point it's dealing with First Chronicles. It's still dealing with King David's life, and David had Asaph, the song leader for the religious services. They wrote this psalm of thanks. Give thanks to the Lord. Call on His name. This is First Chronicles 16, starting at verse 7. Or starting at verse 8. Give thanks to the Lord, call on His name, make known among the nations what He has done. Sing to Him, sing praise to Him. Tell of all His wondrous acts. Glory in His holy name. Let the hearts of those who seek the Lord rejoice. Look to the Lord and His strength. Seek His face always. Remember the wonders He has done, His miracles and the judgments He pronounced. So speaking of miracles, thank you, Frank. Thank you for helping do something for Larry today. I just want to thank God for the miracle that Larry has had. Ellie's with us right now. Just give me a sec to click her in. I got to move my Bible out of the way. Hi there, Ellie. Just saw that you had come in. I'm responding to thanking Frank for what he just sent, and I just read Psalm 107. First Chronicles 16, where he was talking about thanking God for some of the miracles that have been done, and I am very grateful for the miraculous provision for Larry day after day after day. Now there have been some days where he hasn't had enough, and he has gone very far downhill very quickly, but I am so grateful for this man who is fighting all the way for truth and to keep liberty alive. And definitely live free or die is definitely Larry's theme. And I certainly am very, very grateful for him. I'm grateful for Ellie and her being with me today. I'm going to flip through to my next. No, that was my Bible marking. All right. The next passage I've got is also in Psalm. It's Psalm 95, verses 1 and 2. Come, let us sing for joy to the Lord. Let us shout aloud to the rock of our salvation. Let's come before Him with thanksgiving and extol Him with music and song. Singing is such a wonderful way of expressing our gratitude to God. And I have had people recommend to me, which I have done, recommend playing music, because that does, when I think of King Saul and the deep depression and dark feelings he would get when the demonic would come upon him, and how David would come and play the harp, the music soothed him, and that's certainly a good thing for us to do. I want to also say, I'm going to quote Philippians 1:3, because I feel this about you. I thank God every time I remember you. In my prayers, I pray with joy because of your partnership with, I'm transliterating a little bit, because of your partnership with Larry. And I'm confident that God, who has begun a good work in you, will perform it, just like we are expecting God to bring Larry's work to completion. The next two passages have a dual meaning, and then there was one in Colossians 2:7, says we're to be overflowing with thanksgiving. The grateful heart really is a good thing. There was one year when I was thinking about contentment, and I was reading through the Bible, and I came across Philippians 4, where he talked about he'd learned in everything to be content. And I was struck by the fact that it says, I have learned in everything to be content. And I went, learned. Good. That's not just some people have a more contented attitude naturally. That may be true, but I can learn to be more content as well. And I kept reading through scripture. How do I find the secret to contentment? How do I find contentment? And when I got to 1 Thessalonians 5:18, that was when I had my aha moment. In everything, give thanks, for this is the will of God concerning you. And I realized that gratitude really works hard on helping us to develop an attitude of contentment as well. And then 1 Thessalonians 1:2 also, we thank God always for you, mentioning you in our prayers. And I just want you to know that when I was praying for Thanksgiving yesterday, I said thank you for you and for your friendship, for those of you who come on the conference call and we support one another. I want to say thank you to the 3 men who I have talked to in the last 24 hours who really were an encouragement to me with what I'm going through. And I'll talk about that a little more in just a minute. And then the last verse on Thanksgiving is Hebrews 12:28. Be thankful and so worship God. And one of the verses I forgot to look up was, there's a verse in the Psalms that says, we bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of the Lord. I don't know if you ever learned that song when you were growing up. It was something I used to sing. But when I realized there are times when Thanksgiving really, to say thank you, can really feel like a sacrifice because life has just beaten you down. Life is tough. And so that becomes a transition to what else I wanted to share. I got some really bad news this morning that, well, it felt really bad. We're working it out. But, it's interesting, the difference between men and women. They are a man's brain, his left lobe is one area, his right lobe is another. And in order to use, he usually uses only one side at a time. He doesn't use both at the same time. Whereas women have connections across the midbrain. And so we can access both sides of our brain at the same time. Now, one of the things that means is, a man may blow up quickly, but he's going to calm down quickly because he's only using one side. A woman, because of all the connections, what she's thinking, what she's feeling, she's going to slow burn up, but she's going to be a real slow burn down. And with what happened to me this morning, I'm going, oh boy, is this ever a female reaction? Because I got so revved up, I just wanted to throw up. I know some women who end up getting the runs when they get too stressed out. It's just what happens. Our body has reactions. And I was watching myself, and even when I had talked to solve some of the issues I was dealing with this morning, that emotion had not changed one iota. And, I was having the stomach ache. I was having, just the things that can be a normal reaction to high stress. And anyhow, we do the best we can with gratitude. And that's why I wanted to talk about Thanksgiving, because I don't know how many of you had any stress to deal with Thanksgiving, but with Christmas, if you have children or grandchildren, friends that you want to do something for Christmas, whether you make your gifts and are running out of time to get them done, or whether you have to buy gifts and maybe are stressed and tight on money and are concerned because somebody's asking for more than you can provide. Mm-hmm. We can schedule activities at church, activities with school children, just things you want to do for yourself, family needs. There's a lot of stress during the month of December that we're looking at next month, the next week. And I thought it was really important as we face that now. We're past Thanksgiving. Now we look at Christmas coming. How do we deal with the stress? And I just wanted to share with you what I found, about learning to be content, learning to deal with stress. So I'm going to read a couple passages that talk about Thanksgiving. And when I think of stress relief, I think of feeling peace. So there are two passages that Paul wrote that I want to share. Colossians 3:15 talks about both things. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly. So there's talk about peace and thanksgiving going together. And then Philippians 4, 6 and, well, I'm going to start at verse 4. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Joy and thanksgiving kind of go together, especially when you're talking about singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. Let your gentleness be an evidence to all, because the Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything. In other words, don't stress out, but which is, easier said than done. I love how, when people say, don't be anxious.
Yeah.
How do I do that? How do I do that? Well, the answer is what I said. It's the gratitude thing. It says, and here's the other thing, that Philippians 4:6, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the God of peace, which transcends all understanding, the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and mind through Christ Jesus. So, that reminds me of John 14, where Jesus comforts his disciples and says, don't let your hearts be troubled. Well, that's easier said than done, but trust in God, trust also in me, Jesus. And then verse 27, he says, peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I don't give it as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, and do not be afraid. So as we are stressed, these are some passages that, you can come back and get that, since I'm giving you the reference. And then there's why do I have this? 2 Thessalonians 3:16 says, now may the God of peace himself give you peace at all times and in every way, and the Lord be with you. And then I will close with 1 Peter 3:11. Seek peace and pursue it. So I know there are lots of things that you can read on the internet, and I did a paper once from my master's degree on 1 Peter 5:7. Cast your cares on him. Thank you, Chris, for he cares for you. And so we don't have to hold on to them, because he bore them for us. And yes, big brother, thank you. Give the problem to Jesus. Yes. And I hope, as we look forward to December, that you will find ways to simplify. That when your anxiety and stress and issues rev up, that you will take time to take a deep breath, to find something calming to help you, and give yourself moments of quiet among, there are times when our life is just revved up beyond normal, beyond our ability to cope, beyond what we think we can handle. God promises he won't give us more than we can handle, but will provide a way of escape. So look for those escape hatches that will give you a little bit of what you need to calm down. And so that was my message for today. Larry is not able to be here today. He didn't give me any more reason than that. I don't know where he is or what he's doing, but I do know that he has not gotten enough money for his medications today. And so I want to say thank you to the one who just sent him some money. I'm getting ready to send him. Somebody mailed me a check for $75. I did make a deposit the other day from some money that was sent to me, that I will advance this money to Larry before the check clears. I'll get to the bank right away, and before the check clears, I'll go ahead and get, because I have the money in my account. This is what I do, folks. If I have the money, I will forward it before your check clears. That means if something happens, I eat it. But I am so committed to helping Larry with what he's doing that I am willing to take that risk. And so he will have that $75 immediately. And if anybody else can match, that will be greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. So Ellie is doing an interesting program today on her own program, and so I asked her to come and tell us about it. So Ellie, why don't you let folks know, and do you have the ability to type in the chat after you're done to put the information in? Otherwise, I'll type it while you're talking. Thanks,
Okay.
Laura.
Well, as you could see, I got my new background. It's for Christmas, and one of the things I'm doing this weekend is Mrs. Claus Live, and it's something I love doing. I've done Mrs. Claus Live for many, many years. Usually I'm live in town with Salvation Army, and also handing out food with some of the food banks. But now tonight when I do my show, it's on Thanksgiving. It's from Rush Limbaugh's perspective. And he had a really good story to show that, you know, the Pilgrims weren't all that bad. And, you know, we did work with the Indians. And also a little bit on what Obama knew before, you know, when Trump took office and before, a little bit on that. I call it my Patriot Show. And it's usually a long 2-hour show. And you know, we support Trump, and I go over things that he's done this week. So, and he's done a lot. So it's going to be, I'm going to have lots of good stuff for Trump tonight.
Speaking of what Trump did this week, it was just, I was shocked to hear that the mainstream media were complaining about how he had been wasting taxpayer dollar to go golfing.
It was Newsweek that said that.
And what had he done? He had hopped a plane and secretly gone from Mar-a-Lago to Afghanistan and was with one group of troops after another and serving them meals, posing for pictures with them, talking to them, going through the dining hall and shaking hands with folks, hugging.
The amount that showed up at his rally for it. I mean, I was just blown away on how many soldiers showed up at that rally that he threw there. That was just awesome. That was really awesome. But the amount that's showing up at his rallies is, you know, I can't trust these polls no more, because he went from in between 9,000 and 13,000 in the arenas he did in 2016.
I was right. I went to 2.
And there was like 3,000 to 5,000 outside. Now he has to get arenas that hold in between 20 and 25,000. If that don't tell you the polls are wrong, and I tell my viewers this all the time, if that don't tell you the polls are wrong, I don't know, because there is they're saying 5,000 to 10,000 outside these arenas. So you're talking increase almost 100-fold. It's amazing to see how much he's grown. And I was talking to my sister this morning, and Fox News went to the last few rallies to get Republicans on how proud of Trump they were. And the only ones he was running into was Democrats that have changed over. He just kept running into one after another. And that's great. That is fantastic news for us. So
So tell us how. Ooh, do you have on? Better mute, Ellie, for a sec. Tell us how to listen to you tonight. Tell us the time and where.
Okay, it's 8 p.m. Central Time or 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's on Facebook, so you'll have to probably add Investigator News on Facebook.
And it's investigators, plural, right?
Huh?
Investigators, plural?
Mm-hmm. Yes. News. And then I do a premiere on it on YouTube on Investigators News on YouTube at usually about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock Eastern Time. So I replay it and then I stay in the room for questions. So, either way, they can watch it live. And when people come in and watch my live on Facebook, I address them. I say hello. I ask them how they're doing. If we don't talk to the voters, we won't know what they would like to see and hear and, and their views. So that's how I do my live news and my live shows is I interact, even though I'm midstream, I'll stop, I'll say hello. And thank goodness I do X's and O's on my notes, so I know where to go back to.
Where on YouTube?
It's Investigator News.
I mean, what time? Sorry, tonight.
It's going to be probably about 11 o'clock.
Central?
Yes. It's usually pretty late.
Is your brother going to be on with you, or does he do his after?
No, my brother, he does his shows. I'm not sure if he's going to do one tonight. Usually he runs Saturdays through the week, and he's really, really good. I just love how he does. And a lot of people don't care much for Q. I'm not one that's real big on it, but it's more of he'll take a Q post and he'll run it through history, and then he tells you what's going on for in reality what's happening. And of course he says prayers, and then he does current news, current events. Because if I just do the world news on Saturdays, I run hours worth of news. And so he's jumped in, and so now he does news throughout the week, and it makes it easier on me on Saturdays. We're looking at maybe starting a Wednesday morning coffee show. I'm trying to get set up for it, and it looks really possible that it'll be in the next few weeks. So.
Sounds great. Thank you. We're getting another question. Where's Larry? I got a text from Larry an hour ago, an hour and 5 minutes ago, actually, saying that he can't do the show, and that's all I've heard. So I know this morning when I got a text message from him, he had gotten enough money to get one of his medications this morning, but not enough for all that he needed. And so he's missing at least another, he needs at least another, on top of the 75 I'm going to send him, he needs at least another $300 at least for today. That's minimum. He really should have another $700. Hang on, let me just, yeah, Larry just texted me, need help, please. So if anybody else can send something through PayPal, I've got here on the screen, his PayPal account is nicholslive@aol.com. If you need to go to a direct link, the nicholslive.com website, www.nicholslive.com, has a direct link to his PayPal. It has his mailing address if you cannot do PayPal, and it's got my phone number, which I'm going to type in right now. It's a cell phone for, Chris called me this morning and my cell phone wasn't working very well in the house. So text, and then I will call you back, 240-499-6729. And if you want to send a check, or you have a large donation and want to use Western Union, we don't just send the money to Larry's in Larry's name, because he can't go pick it up himself. We have to pay somebody to pick it up for him. So that arrangement has to be made. And so you need to text me if you need to do it through Walmart to Walmart, or Western Union. As far as Q goes, a lot of the things that I passed on to Larry, Larry has debunked.
No, yeah, I know. And I just, like I said, I like stand off and look. I'm not real, I've read the post, and I've been to all the different people that do it. And I just, maybe they said it wrong. And me and my brother, I tell them, give me the facts, give me the reality facts. And, I'm letting him go with it, as long as he runs that it's, what's going on today, or the historical facts. And, but he's loving it. And more he's getting into reading articles and doing more current events and news. And he does a really good job. And, me and him were the most shy, and yet we in front of the camera, and I still get nervous every time, So, and, you're talking coping skills, and that's, when you're super shy and you put a camera in front of you, and you get really nervous, and people don't realize how nervous some of us get right before we go on. And then I get on and I'm fine. So, and then I kick myself under the desk a few times, saying, I shouldn't have been nervous, because I'm just fine. Mary Ellen, you mentioned Psalms. Now, here, about 20 years ago, when I was going through college courses, I heard a pastor out of Gravette, Arkansas, Pastor Arnold Murray. And he said, everybody has a psalm. You just have to find it. And this psalm, you will recognize that it is meant for you. And in your most stressed times, it could be so soothing. And I really do believe it. I mean, I've got mine, and I've told many people to find their psalms. And maybe that would help with some stress. And before I lose track, Larry Nichols is a blessing to me, and so is Mary Ellen, a huge blessing. And I'm very thankful. And I know it's rough for everybody during the holidays, and as we get closer, it's going to be harder. But if $5, if all of us can just do $5, $10, or, I know salvation needs the help, but this is somebody we know and love. And, maybe hold off the dollar for the Salvation Army just to help Larry, and he needs it. I believe everybody has a reason, and everybody has a purpose. And there's a reason and a purpose that I actually got to meet Larry Nichols, even though it's not in person. But I believe that God kept him alive this long so we could keep in touch. And he's a blessing. And I really would love for everybody, if they can't do the 75, do 5 for him. We need him. We need him longer. And he's a blessing for all the info he gives us. And I'm going to go ahead, and I got that video, and I'll run it on my main page today a few times.
Thank you. When you go to Investigators News, Larry did a really, really nice, not Larry, Ellie did a really nice 1 minute and 14-second video, I think it is, about Larry and the work that he has done. So, go. I shared it. I found it. I shared it. So investigators news on YouTube, find that video about Larry and pass it around and ask people, put it on social media. Let's see if we can get some new people finding out about this. And by the way, we are up to 9,900 viewers on our subscribers on the YouTube. We've got less than 100 to go to hit that 10,000 mark. And I don't know what happens at 10,000, but I know something changes. So I'm going to do, I don't have Larry's CD here because I've packed it already, but you can go in the description box under the video here. There is a link to the YouTube video where the sample demo of Larry's CD is available, and you can click on that and listen to the first few measures of the different songs that are on the CD. And I had his, oh, here it is. So Larry's autobiography, 28 Years to Nowhere. That it describes his life from why he separated from Bill Clinton. What happened the day that he and Bill went their separate ways and why. And it all the way up until the election of Donald Trump, 2016. It's got an endorsement at the back by several people. One of the people who were the first to read the book before we got it published, I had a few people who were just giving us some reaction, and a few people that I asked to help with a final edit. And I'm sorry, if you look through this book, I got the final proof copy from the printer, and I found a whole bunch more mistakes. I fixed them, and then they made a bunch more. And so when you read through the book, please give me some grace when you realize all the mistakes that are still in there. My copy is full of red marks everywhere for, when we do the third printing, having to fix it again. Anyhow, Vicky, a lady named Vicky said, I'm on the edge of my seat. I can't turn the pages fast enough. And Pat said, Larry has fought the fight for good against pure evil. He was the only one who would do it. Now it's like you're sitting down and talking with him. And Colette said, wow, what a book. Betty said, Larry Nichols' personal story to save America is a must read for all who love this country. So that's the book. And you can order it on the merchandise page at nicholslive.com. Now the t-shirt, I've got to see, here's the front. The V is for victory. It is the top quality. It's the top quality glitter, gold glitter that you can buy in America. The t-shirt is the top quality cotton made in America. So it's not coming from China like a lot of other people's things do. And then here's the back, if I can get back far enough to be able to figure out how to show it to you. Doing it backwards makes it a little confusing. So there you go. And you can get it with a choice of putting Nichols Army under the banner or not. You can have it left off, and that's your choice. If you have an issue with trying to place the order, text me. I put that number in here. It's also my cell phone number is in the description box here. So text me if you're trying to do an order, it's not going through, and I will help you get in touch with Mark, and he's the one who takes care of the order. So, anyhow, Larry definitely needs help. I just sent him, I got $40 in the mail. I got $75 in the mail, and I pitched in. So I just sent Larry $125. And if anybody else can match any part of that, please do. Do you have anything more to add, Ellie?
Well, you mentioned, some of the coping skills and some of the thankfulness and, in the beginning. And, I'm love nature, and I used to love to hike. And the most peaceful time you could possibly have is in nature. And, when you get stressed out and you're at your wits' end, go to God's garden, because he made this earth for us, and he made Mother Nature just so beautiful and wondrous. And sometimes when you just go and you sit next to a stream and you listen to nature, it will calm you down. Your frustration, your anger will just really subside. And it's been a blessing for me. And that's how I always think of it, is like the song, the garden. I come to the garden alone. And sometimes I even think of the song while I'm out there. I won't sing for you, I promise. Because you'd be rolling on the ground laughing, Marianne.
That was my grandfather's favorite song, and he played it on his violin, and he was a very squeaky player, but I was the only one in the whole family that ever appreciated his playing. But I was young enough that it didn't matter to me. I just was enthralled the fact that he could even know how to do it.
Mm-hmm. And it really does work. And I've told a lot of people, that's been frustrated, friends and family, and they have tried it and they say it works. And now when they hear that song, they think of that peaceful moment, and it does, because it's gonna be stressful this holiday season. But the good news is, Trump, the economy's going well. People are having more money, and I'm forecasting a huge boom in the economy over Christmas. I think these merchants are going to be happy.
I hope so.
I have faith in Trump, and and I think God is right there with him. And and Mary Ellen, you know what? For those men that keep showing up and wanting to look at your house, I say get some holy water and throw it at them.
Where do I get that?
At any Catholic church, they sell it. Okay. No, okay. I knew that would make you laugh, because that's just
needed to laugh today.
But I keep some on tap, because sometimes, you have Satan knocking on your door, and you get a little bit of holy water, you rub it at the top of your frame, and to me, I don't know if it's just because I know it's there and I feel protected. I was born and raised a little bit Catholic, and then went out on my own. And
well, every corner on the outside of my house has been anointed with oil, and every door and window on the inside has been done twice in the last couple months. So
then get the holy water and throw it on them.
I had somebody come to the door. Well, he didn't come to the door. He was walking through my, leaving the house, going down the driveway back to his vehicle. And I said, "What's going on?" And so he was from the state inspecting the wires on my house, which is, what has been done with the wires is what the phone and electric company have done. And he said Verizon is going to get quite a letter from the state because of what they did with my wires on the outside. Like, okay, no. I've called them out twice myself, and if that's the way they've left me, then so be it. They'll have to deal with the state. That's good. I'm thankful for that. So, and thanks for making me laugh, Allie. One of the hymns that meant a lot to me growing up, and I dealt with a lot of stressful things growing up, and was the song "Count Your Blessings." When upon life's billows you are tempest tossed, when you are discouraged, thinking all is lost, count your many blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. And this whole concept of giving thanks, making a list of reasons to be grateful. As you see that list grow, as you read over it, get a small notebook and do it, and add some things this month to your list, and keep it as a permanent reminder of what God has done for you. And that way you can have a list to look at. Yep. So
definitely. My count your blessings story is something that happened in my family. I lost my son, and he had one daughter, And so then I got my daughter, and she had a boy and a girl. And then she was married to another gentleman. And we always would have wanted them to have kids. And well, he had gotten cancer. And so they went ahead and did the chemo and the radiation. And they asked him, do you want to save some sperm? And he said, well, the kids are old, and, we're getting old. No, don't worry about it. We're happy. So they didn't. And so he went through the treatments, and it was real rough. And he got through it. He came up cancer free. And lo and behold, my daughter got pregnant. And they told him 0% chance of ever having kids, for them ever having kids. And, we always wanted that one more, because, losing my son. And that was I count that blessing every day I see her, because she's just so precious. And for them to get that baby is a blessing, not only to our family, but his family. That, they expected to see a grandbaby on his side. And they just count her as a little blessing too. So, but that's something everybody's got their blessing, and they just need to maybe remember it and keep it on the shelf, because those little babies are blessings. They grow up and maybe not so much, but when they're babies, they're cute. My little granddaughter's at the mine stage, and I was like, you were a cuter blessing like 3 months ago before mine came out. So I just fight with her and tell her everything's mine too. So.
All right, folks, we'll wrap it up there for today. Thank you for being here. And we've got somebody talking about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and believe me, Larry is aware of that story. So we've discussed it in the past, so I'm not going to say any more about that today. God bless you. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving yesterday. And as you look forward to Christmas and the month of December and all the joys and stresses that it brings, I hope some of the things that we have mentioned will be helpful as you focus on giving thanks in everything, whatever it is, whatever that means. And I certainly appreciate everybody who has done something for Larry. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. And, we're facing a weekend, and he's at a point where, some of the people who were giving big, even who has done a lot this week, people run out. And whether you've got big money, you run out, whether you've got little money, you run out. And I know that, we're at the end of the month, and it's a tough time for everybody, especially with all the extra expenses of December. But, Larry's need to be involved. We need Larry involved in what he's doing, even if he can't tell us what it is. If you listen to the people that he talks about, he has a way to get in touch with them somehow and get information from them and about them. And I'm very grateful for all the contacts he has and the insider information he can get directly and tell us the truth. Hopefully he will, survive the weekend and be back on Monday. But a lot of that will depend on what we're able to drum up in the way of help for him. So God bless you. Have a blessed weekend. We'll talk again on Monday. And thanks for all you've done for Larry. And we'll do again this weekend and next month too. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.